Hello and welcome to the Headache Doctor podcast, where on this podcast, it's our mission to educate and empower everyone with headaches and migraines so that you can break free from a life of fear of your next headache or migraine and dependence on medication. In today's podcast, we're going to be talking about why you can't use relief of your symptoms as indication of you treating the underlying cause. All right. Now, you may be wondering where I'm headed with this or what that even means. But think of a scenario where you try something and it provides you with relief. Essentially, what I'm talking about is how do we understand the relief that you receive? Should we look at that thing that you were trialing, whether it's medication or avoiding a trigger or a new sort of approach to treatment, whatever it may be, and if it reduces your symptoms, should we understand that as treating the underlying cause, or should we take that as information to say now we know what is causing our symptoms? All right, so the scenario that came up just recently was one of a patient traveling to another type of provider, and it's actually this is actually interesting in that their headache migraine situation started shortly after COVID, and so what happened was there was this connection between I had the COVID virus and then there's this post-COVID symptoms, these post-COVID symptoms or syndrome that just continues, and oftentimes that does present itself as headaches or migraines. And so this individual went and received treatment for COVID itself and wanted to get my input on why that would be effective. If it's effective, what should we do with that? And it led me to start talking about how we can't take relief of symptoms as necessarily understanding the cause, okay? So just to carry on with that conversation, what I was explaining to this individual was that if the treatment that they were undergoing, if that were to prove to be successful, okay, let's say headaches, migraines go away, we have been helping this individual for a period of time, and there's very clear indications that there's problems in the neck, and that those specific areas in the neck refer pain into the head, leading to the headache pain that they're experiencing. And when we work on it, it improves. Okay, so why would there be a scenario where we can work on someone on their neck and it improves, but we can also say, hey, let's treat these long COVID symptoms and see it improve as well? Why? How can both be true? All right. So if the COVID scenario of treating the COVID itself, the long COVID, if that is true, wouldn't it be reasonable to say, well, COVID is what caused the headache? Maybe. I think we can say if we use the word cause as an indication of causing the onset of what she experiences, I would say that's fair. It caused you to then have this headache that hasn't gone away since. If we use cause in the sense of this is what's causing the pain itself, then that's where I would take a step back and say, well, COVID, there's not much evidence to say COVID would cause a specific pattern of pain to present in someone's head. All right. So when we think of most headaches and migraines, and especially when it comes to long COVID, it would be like a specific one-sided maybe presentation behind the eye and the temple, that sort of thing. And so can we say that COVID or something like a virus can cause a one-sided headache? Likely not. I mean, it would be more of a systemic. Your whole body would be feeling something. If there were aches or pains, it would be throughout. If it was specifically due to something like a virus or inflammation running throughout your system. And so when we say cause, and we're trying to use that word cause to indicate the underlying problem itself, meaning what is causing the pain, we would have to take a a closer look, likely at any structure that would cause or send pain into the head, and specifically reproducing that left-sided head pain, and then understand that the rest of the body and the systems in the body can impact if or how that pain is experienced. And so we have sort of this global, the environment of the pain, and then the pain, the source of the pain itself. And so in this scenario, both can be true. We can have a neck issue that then the person is relatively okay leading up to COVID, and then COVID sort of weakens their ability to tolerate the neck issue. Ergo, we have headaches that are just continuing. And if we treat the COVID and if we treat the neck, both can work, but we have to understand the difference between them when they do work. So here's some different scenarios that you all might be able to relate to when I'm talking about ways that we commonly will find relief, but then attribute the cause or the source of our headache to those things. All right. So it could be things like hormone changes. It could be things like allergens or diet, things that we eat, foods that we're allergic to. It could be gluten, dairy, intolerances to different food groups. Medication is a big one, and I'll pause there and talk about medication a little bit more. So our healthcare system historically has used medication, and the fact that medication oftentimes will work, albeit not largely successful. I mean, some of the latest and greatest drugs on the market, these CGRP medications, Aimovig in particular, if you look at their website, I believe it's about a 50% reduction in about half the people that trial it. So, but medication historically has been used as a way to describe or at least put a hypothesis behind what is actually happening when someone has migraine symptoms. So propranolol being more of like a blood pressure medication, that working would indicate, okay, you have a blood vessel issue. There's something going on with the blood vessels. You have a pounding sensation. So this is the blood vessels. That's a problem. Okay. So that's one of the things that our healthcare system has gone to. Vasodilation, vasoconstriction. There's different medications that impact that, the dilation of the vessel themselves. And so taking that medication, seeing a change in the vasodilation of the blood vessel and seeing that it provides relief led us to think, okay, this is a vascular issue. All right. Some other things that medication that impacts serotonin levels, let's say like triptans, have led us to think, okay, there's something with serotonin. Serotonin levels are off. The receptor, like we need more serotonin. We just need to manipulate serotonin somehow. And currently, it's led us to believe, not here at Novera, but just our healthcare system at large, to believe this is just a spontaneous chemical neurological event. So there's just these chemical reactions causing pain, causing you to have nausea, vomiting, an aura, and sensitivities to lights and sounds, and this debilitating generally one-sided head pain. Okay, so medication is a big one. We've used that historically to then almost like confirm the bias of, okay, well, if this works, then that's the problem. And what it does is it excludes us from looking at something like a neck problem. Because if we think it's a vascular issue, or if we think we have it figured out with just this spontaneous this spontaneous neurological event, then we don't necessarily think to go down the neck route. All right. So medication is a huge one. And I've even had providers tell me directly, they'd say, well, if this is a neck problem, why would the medication help? Which is just, I think it's, I guess it's a little sad to think that, one, we're so ingrained in that way of thinking, but two, that it's almost as if we want to stop at the meds. And why would a solution be medication? I mean, a lot of these medications that we provide, they're artificial. It's not like we're providing something to our body that was just like a void, like, oh, I just needed to take a triptan, 10 days a month for the rest of my life, and that's what my body needed. And if I don't, no, like there's got to be something more holistic, more natural. Like our bodies weren't created to just need medication. And so based on principle, I don't like stopping there. If medication works, it doesn't mean you just need medication, is what I'm saying. We can take that helpful information and say, great, we have a tool that we can use, but we don't want to stop there. Maybe dehydration is another one. Dehydration meaning, I hear this all the time when people, they just say, well, I needed to drink more water and then, my headache felt better. So was the headache there because you didn't have enough water? I think on extreme scenarios, dehydration may cause a headache or aches and pains. But overall, again, we're just putting our body in an environment where we can't tolerate the thing that's actually generating the pain in the head. So when we use the word cause, we need to be careful around those types of things. I'll go back to hormones. I've talked about hormones extensively on podcasts. I've had guests that we talk about hormones and how they relate to headaches and migraines, and it's just that changing of your threshold and what you can tolerate. Okay, so another couple examples here. So if you were to put an ice pack on your head, or maybe one of those ice caps that has pressure and the therapeutic impact of the cold itself, and that helped, would you then reason that, oh, my head just needed to be colder, or my head needed pressure? And the problem was that my head didn't have the cold, and so I got to the source of it by putting the cold. We wouldn't do that. I mean, it kind of sounds silly, but clearly we understand that we're just impacting the pain that we experience by, giving us another input, changing what we feel through the ice pack or through the compression. Another couple examples here. If you feel relief by walking or exercising, and I know a lot of people either can't tolerate exercise or it irritates it, but let's say, for example, because some people, when they exercise, they do feel better, would we serve to reason that you just avoid a lack of exercise is the actual cause of a one-sided pain? No, we would say that it's contributing to what you're feeling and it's helping, but it wouldn't. Not exercising doesn't just cause one side of the head to hurt. And then, eating food, just anything, if you're avoiding triggers and you're finding that when you avoid those triggers, you're seeing relief, just know that you're impacting your scenario. It's just like putting an ice pack on your head. Okay. There's something that's helping, or you're removing yourself from something that's hurting. Okay. So why can't we think this way? Why can't we just go through this journey and pursuing the avoiding triggers, or looking for the things that will provide us with some relief, whether it's medication or impacting hormones? Why can't we just do those things? Why can't we just take the medication? Well, one, we're missing the big picture, and then two, we risk not finding either total relief or a greater extent of relief. Okay, so first off, we miss the big picture. When I say we miss the big picture, it's as if we were a racehorse with blinders on and we just see that thing that's directly in front of us, right? So we're missing the forest for the one tree. And that one tree may be a tree that we need to take care of. But if we don't zoom out and understand what this whole forest looks like and the health of the entire forest, then we might misdiagnose this. And misdiagnosing it means, point two, that we don't find relief in other areas that we actually need to find relief. So headaches and migraines, I wouldn't necessarily say that they have all these different causes in the sense of things that are sending pain to your head. I would say the majority of people are going to have, if not everyone, nearly everyone with a headache or migraine is going to have the actual source of pain be something in their neck, jaw, shoulders, in their musculoskeletal system. So something that's sending pain to your head is going to be something within that musculoskeletal system. I've told people before, it would be like saying I have knee pain. It's safe to assume like something is injured or needs to be restored in your knee. There's some tissue that's angry, whether that's like under your kneecap, there's arthritic changes, there's a ligament, there's tendons that are irritated. So there's something that is physical that has stress through it that's inflamed, and that's why you have knee pain. So same type of thing. Like when we think of headaches, think neck, jaw, shoulders, something's wrong. So that's the actual source of pain. But there's so many things that impact someone's experience with that pain that can help or hurt. And this is where our model, our 3-spoke framework that we have at Novera, sort of encapsulates all of this. I didn't actually intend to talk about this, but I'll talk about it briefly. So the first thing is the source of pain, and that would be the neck, jaw, shoulders. The second thing is developmentally. So that would be like airway, tongue tie. Do you have like hypermobility? Did you inherit like really poor posture from mom or dad? Like these things that you've just developmentally had to overcome, and do we need to be aware of those things that contribute to the actual neck, jaw, shoulder problem? And then the third is systemically. So how is your body, what is the environment that the pain's experienced in? And that's what the category like diet, hormones, stress levels, that's where all those fall into, is like, are you otherwise healthy, and can we improve your health overall so that your threshold's much higher for tolerating this pain signal? Okay, so we should be pursuing pain relief, right? But we can't pursue pain relief just for the sake of pain relief. We need to pursue pain relief with the pursuit of finding the underlying problem, okay? So we need to pursue pain relief, but partner it with the question or the understanding of like what caused the pain in the first place. And when we partner it with the what caused the pain in the first place mindset, then we open ourselves to the greater potential of finding total relief or a greater extent of benefit or relief, a greater magnitude of relief. Okay, so we're not limiting ourselves to searching for one thing and then basing the value of that thing based on the relief that we can get. We're looking at health in general. We're looking at what is healthy. All right, so that sort of transitions me into another point that coincides and sort of like complements what I'm talking about here. So if we're looking at a whole gamut, a whole spectrum of things that we can try when we're looking at treatments, there are some things that we would definitely want to stop if we're not finding relief, okay? And I would put medication in that category. If you're not finding relief with medication, we should probably not continue that, right? There's side effects. There's things that are detrimental to our health when we put something that's not naturally going to be helpful to us, okay? So let's say medications in that category. On the other end of that category are things that are healthy for us, okay? Now, let's say that medication being on one side, and then let's say like having a healthy diet is on the other, all right? So the medication does have downsides. The healthy eating has a lot of upsides, but we're doing both of them in pursuit of seeing relief of our headaches or migraines. Now, if we don't see relief with either, okay, my point here is that one of them we want to just continue because we know that it is healthy for us and that it's better for us and it's a long-term thing. And so we need to change our mindset and be more open to just continuing the things that are healthy, meaning changing our diet and eating in moderation, or maybe eliminating certain food groups or working with a functional doctor, those types of things. So we want to continue those things, and we don't necessarily want to evaluate those things as harshly based on like, do I feel better? Okay. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, we do want to evaluate those things, like be relatively critical of if they're actually helping your situation. Because if they're not, we don't want to just like continue endlessly down that road. Now, one caveat, if but I totally understand, like if someone's feeling caught and they just like are afraid of getting off of their meds. We deal with that all the time. Hopefully listening to this podcast and then maybe reaching out to us, we can help you navigate that. But that's sort of the idea is we want to pursue the healing process and reduction in our symptoms with the idea of what is causing or what caused the pain in mind. And then we want to be patient with the things that are healthy and good for us and be less patient with the things that we know have side effects if we're not seeing those results. Okay. Okay. One final example here. So let's take, for instance, a scenario where you break your arm, and I'm going to use this as an example and lay out the different scenarios of what you would do when you break your arm, and then sort of like pair them with the different things we do when we're looking at treating something like a migraine. Okay, so you break your arm. There's pain, there's inflammation, there's a response to the actual trauma, right? So there's swelling, it's obvious, your body caters to it, you change your posture. Okay, so what do? We take medication, right? We need to take something to reduce the pain levels, something to manage the pain. So I'll stop there and say, when you break your arm and you take medication, no one would ever say, well, because the medication's helping means that it's a medication problem. All right. So it sounds crazy. But that's like when someone tells me like, well, why would the medication work? Like that's what I'm hearing. It's almost as if someone's saying like, well, I broke my arm and of course my arm needs to like be casted, or like we need to do surgery to put the bone back in place. But like why, if it wasn't a medication problem, then why would medication work? Like it's gotten to the point where that kind of sounds crazy to me. And putting it in that context, I hope that sounds crazy to you, like breaking your arm, taking medication, and then reasoning like, oh, I just need to keep taking medication since that's helping me. This must just be a medication problem. No, of course it's not. Your arm needs to heal. Okay. Let's say you break your arm and you're in pain. You do mindfulness techniques. You instead of going the route of like medication and casting it, you say, I'm gonna find a way to be more like mindful. I'm gonna think about something else. I'm gonna control this pain level. Will that help? Yeah, I'm sure it would help. Does that mean that was the problem and that's the solution? No, of course not. Like your arm's broken. So my point here, and I could keep going, but I think you all get my point. But I'll state it just to be clear. So there was something that caused the pain, right? There was trauma. There was trauma to your arm, and your arm is broken, and that's causing pain. There's a lot of things we can do to impact what you feel, right? When something is injured, when something's hurt, when something's not feeling well. But we don't want to take those things that make your arm feel better to validate like that's what's causing it. And I hope using the broken arm example gives you a really clear picture of kind of how crazy that can be. All right. So when we say like, well, what caused it? There are some parallels here with headaches and migraines and breaking the arm. So there was a trauma that caused your arm to break, right? Like you fell, you were snowboarding, you were skiing, you were riding a motorcycle, whatever. Maybe you just tripped on the sidewalk. You broke your arm because you fell and there were forces placed through it that broke. Now that's like one instance, and there's trauma. Okay. And then your arm, because of the fracture, the tissues being disrupted, has pain, right? So the pain itself coming from the trauma, the pain is coming from like the bone, the fracture, but what caused the fracture was you falling. All right. So when we use this word cause, when it relates to your neck having an issue, we can use the same reasoning. Like your neck has a problem, like your bone is broken in your arm in that scenario. We can say your neck has a problem when you have headaches or migraines. Now, if we go even further and say, well, what caused the neck to be in this situation? It's not quite as clear cut. It's not always as clear cut as like, hey, I fell and that's how my arm broke. We have to take years of physical stress and gravity weighing down on us and our heads weighing 10 to 12 pounds and a very mobile neck and all those developmental factors, all the systemic factors, what physically you've put your neck through over the years. And there's a lot of people that get to the point where they don't have to have trauma and their neck is just in rough shape. I use the example of never brushing your teeth or flossing and then getting cavities. It's just like if we don't take care of something, and I just don't think we're aware that we need to really take care of our necks in our society, and that's largely where the problem is. All right, so here we go. Just summarizing, we need to be careful not to use relief when we're pursuing a relief as indication that we're actually finding the cause or the source of what's happening. For some reason in the headache and migraine world, this happens all the time. And if I could probably educate people, this would be in my top 5 things I would want people to hear and know, that we shouldn't use something that provides you with relief as evidence of now I know what's causing it, because we might miss the big picture and we might limit the potential that we have for improvement because we're not seeing other elements of what our body's experiencing. So there you go. Thank you all so much for listening to the Headache Doctor podcast. I hope as always that you find it helpful. Please, you are our marketing, and so I would ask you to share this. Give us a 5-star review. Let us know what you've appreciated from the show. You can always email us at hello@noveraheadachecenter.com. And definitely reach out if you're someone who's struggling and needing some assistance. We have virtual coaching and then, of course, in-person care. Thank you all again so much. And as we continue on this journey of helping everyone with headaches and migraines break free from a life of fear of their next headache or migraine and dependence on medication, I'll see you next week.